Hello and welcome to today's lesson, which I'm very excited to bring you. It's called Shepherd's Hay, and I was playing a tune there and I've learnt this one off by heart. And also this one's a little bit faster, a little bit higher up pitch wise, and I'm going to show you a clever thing that we can do with the actual pattern of the buttons a little bit later on in the lesson. So we are in the key of G major. The lowest note is G on the left, and then climbing up through the scale, A on the right, B on the left, C on the right, and D on the left. So we've got the first 5 notes of the scale of G major, and we can get a pretty good tune just by using those 5 notes, which is great, isn't it? So we are counting in 4s, and we're counting 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. That's the sort of timing of the first part, which goes twice. So I start with the B on the left, C on the right, D on the left, down to B on the left, and then 2 C's on the right. And then the same again with 2 A's to finish, not 2 C's. And do the first part again. B, C, D, B, C, B, C, different ending on that bar. And to finish the section, all on the left hand side, D, D, G. Same again. Now, just at the very bottom of that first page, there's a pickup note that takes you into the next section. It's an A on the right hand side, and it's goes into the next page, a B, G, C, a B, G, A. So timing is and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this bit from earlier. Same again. So the way I learnt this was to, obviously I worked it out, wrote it down in my tablature. Once I'd done that, I kind of worked on the phrases that repeat in the tune. So here's the first one. B, C, D, B. So it's B on the left, C on the right, and then D and B on the left again. So it starts and it ends on B. That happens a lot in the tune. Now we've got some repetitive phrases in the second section as well. We've got this one, and then we've got this one. So A, B, G, C, A, B, G, A. So exactly the same phrase with a different note on the end. And basically, with this one, try and learn it off by heart. It's much easier to play. If you notice, most people on YouTube, when they play this instrument, and if you see them in a session, you won't see them feverishly looking at the tablature or the music. They just know the tunes off by heart, so their muscle memory has taken over. So once you've learnt it, just bring the speed up a little bit. A nice little thing on the end you can do is this. A normal G major chord, of course, is G, B and D. I'm playing G, B, and I'm just adding another G on top. So it is essentially a G major chord, but with 2 G's in it rather than G, B, D. So that's the basic tune in the key of G major. I'm now going to show you something quite interesting. Now we're using just these 5 notes at the moment. G, A, B, C and D. Now if I step back and use these notes instead, C, D, E, F and G. So if I step back and just use those 5 buttons, I'll play exactly the same pattern of buttons, but instead of playing in the key of G major, I'm now playing in the key of C major. And I can do that little chord on the end just the same way, except this time I've got C and E with the left hand and a top C with the right hand. So that's quite clever, isn't it? By playing exactly the same pattern of buttons but just moved back 1 button a piece, I've transposed the entire tune from the key of G major down to the key of C major, which is, I think, very interesting. And then I thought, shall I take that a stage further? Can I try that elsewhere? And here's an interesting thing. So we started on the note B and we were in the key of G major. I'm going to come forward now 1 button a piece. I wonder if you can hear what's happened here. Now, if you're a good musician, you probably noticed I've put that into a minor key. So now I'm playing shepherd's table, and I've kind of minored it out. I've kind of changed the whole feel of it, playing the same pattern of buttons that I did in G major and C major, but because of the arrangement of notes, I'm now playing it in D minor. Quite interesting, isn't it? Let's take that a stage further. Come forward another set of buttons. So now, much higher up, and I'm going to be playing in another minor key. Same pattern of buttons as I did in the other 3 keys. Instead of D minor, I've now got A minor. Some of my high notes there are a little bit reluctant to speak, as they say. So, interestingly enough there, we've got the tune in 4 different keys, in G major, C major, and then D minor and A minor. So it's quite a good little exercise and quite interesting, I think. We've got a couple of staccato notes in this, and if you don't know what that means, it's when you play the note and you keep it short. So, can you hear that? Where do they come? Well, there, hear that? Nice and short. And the same there. So staccato notes all helps with the expression. One thing I want to say about this tune is it's very easy to kind of rush it and not to make it flow as it should. Let me show what I mean by that. Kind of do that, where the notes start to blur into each other. So make sure the notes sound, but make sure you stop them before you play the next note. make sure the phrases flow nicely. One thing you want to avoid doing is this sort of thing. Obviously I'm overcooking it there, but you see what I mean, rushing through the phrases. Try and make it nice and even. The tune Shepherd's Hay was actually written by an Australian composer called Percy Grainger. He wrote it in about 1911, and I think it's fair to say it was very much sort of a straightforward, quite flowery orchestral piece. But the tune was taken up by the Morris dancing community in the 20th century, and now it's a staple of their kind of diet of songs and tunes that they dance to. But it's a nice, interesting tune, very happy tune. I first learnt it on the melodeon, on a one-row melodeon, but it's really nice to play it on the English concertina, and I've really enjoyed learning it off by heart. I think that's a really important thing. That's something I'm going to work on a lot more, learning to play pieces off by heart. You can certainly put your heart and soul into it more if you're not looking at the sheet. I was also fascinated to find that by moving my fingers backwards and forwards, I could play in those different keys, 2 major and 2 minor. Anyway, that is today's tune, Shepherd's Hay, and as usual, I hope you enjoyed it.